Chapter 1: Ancient and Medieval Civilization. B. India. Introduction. The Neolithic age was characterized by the development of agriculture. Man started living in settled communities in river valleys or along river banks, which provided abundant water for the growth of crops. Some of the early civilizations flourished around banks of rivers, such as the Indus Valley or Harapan Civilization along the Indus River, China along the Yellow River and Huang River, Mesopotamia along the Tigris and Euphrates River, and Egypt along the Nile River. In this chapter, we will study about one of the earliest civilizations of the world, the Harapan Civilization of ancient India, which flourished during 2700 BC to 1500 BC, and also about the Vedic period from 1500 BC to 600 BC, which is characterized by the advent of the Aryans. We will also learn about the new religions which emerged, namely the Vedic religion, Jainism and Buddhism. Harapan Civilization. The Harapan Civilization is one of the ancient civilizations of the world, which flourished during 2700 BC to 1500 BC in the regions of what is now Pakistan and Western India. It was situated on the banks of the river Indus, and hence it is also called the Indus Valley Civilization. It was also called the Harapan Civilization, as the first site of this civilization was discovered in Harappa. The first mention of the ancient city was found in the travelogues of a British traveller, Charles Masson, in 1826. In 1856, British engineers were constructing a railway line from Lahore to Multan when they found several ancient bricks. The engineers used the bricks to build the railway line, but no investigations were made to find out about the source of the bricks. It was only in 1920 that proper excavations began, which led to the discovery of the civilization in the ancient city of Harappa. The work was carried out under the guidance of Sir John Marshall, who was the head of the archaeological department during the British rule. Archaeologist Dr. Dayaram Sahni carried out excavation work in Harappa in the Punjab province, and Rakhaldas Banerjee, an officer of the Archaeological Survey of India, carried out excavations at another Indus civilization city, Mohenjo-Daro, in the Sindh province. Mohenjo-Daro means Mountain of the Dead in Sindhi. Today, both the cities fall in Pakistan. Archaeologists found various identical seals in Harappa and Mohenjo-Daro. Excavations carried out showed that both the cities had similar town planning and drainage systems and similar remains of pottery, various seals, ornaments, etc. The similarities indicate that both the cities belonged to the same civilization. Around 1400 sites of the Harappan civilization have been found in western India at Kalibangan, Dholvira, Daimabad, Sarkotola, Lothal, etc. The excavations show that the ancient civilization had well thought out town planning, excellent drainage systems, pottery, use of cosmetics and ornaments. All this signifies that the civilization had an urban culture. Hence, the Harappan civilization is considered as one of the earliest urban civilizations of the world. The Harappan civilization existed between 2700 BC and 1500 BC as per Willard Libby's radiocarbon dating method, which is also known as carbon-14 method. Town planning. The Harappan civilization was highly advanced in terms of town planning and architecture. The two cities had well-developed drainage systems, granaries, houses, bathrooms, protective walls, and docks. Let us have a detailed look at some of the remarkable features of their town planning. Houses. The Harappan town was divided into administrative and residential parts. The residential part of the town was further divided into various wards and blocks, with each ward made up of 20 to 30 houses. The Harappan houses were well planned and made out of baked bricks of uniform size. Each house had a courtyard and a bathroom attached to it. Archaeologists have also found wells in the backyard of some houses. Every house had a well-developed drainage system. Protective walls. A wide protective wall surrounded every town of the Harappan civilization. The walls were also made up of baked bricks. Huge watchtowers were built on the west side of the walls to keep a watch on enemies and prevent external attacks. This shows that the Harappans deployed methods for self-protection. Roads. The Harappans built wide, interconnected roads which ran parallel to each other. The main roads intersected at right angles. Wood fossils discovered at the Harappan sites suggest that lampposts may have been present on the roads. Drainage system. Unlike their contemporary civilizations, the Harappan cities had an advanced drainage system to dispose drain water and rainwater out of the town. The drains were closed and 1 meter deep underground. They were made up of stones and baked bricks. The Great Bath. One of the most interesting structures excavated at Mohenjo-daro is the Great Bath. The Great Bath was probably a huge public water tank. The tank is 12 meters long, 7 meters broad and 2.5 meters deep. The outer walls of the bath are 7 to 8 feet wide. The Great Bath also had an attached changing room. It also had a facility to dispose used water and transport clean water to the bathrooms. This shows that the Harappans had an awareness about sanitation and hygiene. Docks. The ruins of a large dock have been found in the excavation at Lothal in Gujarat. The dock is 270 meters long and 37 meters wide. This shows that the Harappans knew how to build ships, were aware of sea routes, and might have been involved in trade by sea routes. A seal with a ship design was also discovered at Lothal. Granaries found at Lothal suggest that agriculture and trade were well developed and advanced. Social and cultural life. The ruins of the Indus Valley cities and artifacts found therein give us an idea about the social structure, dressing, ornaments, hairstyle, cosmetics, and modes of entertainment of the Harappans, which suggest that the Harappans had a rich social and cultural life. Social structure. The family was the basic unit of the Harappan society. The Harappan society consisted of administrators, traders, and the common people. Since the civilization developed along the fertile banks of the river Indus, agriculture was the mainstay of the Harappan society. Clothing and hairstyle. Various artifacts found at the Harappan sites indicate that the Harappans had knowledge of clothing. The images on pieces of broken pottery, the clothes on the statues, and the needles discovered at the excavation sites indicate that the Harappans were aware of weaving, dyeing, and stitching clothes. The statues have different hairstyles, which signifies that the men and women made up their hair in various hairstyles. Harappan men sported a beard and parted their hair in the center. Cosmetics and ornaments. A makeup box was found at a Harappa excavation site. It included a bronze mirror, ivory combs, hooks, hairpins, lipstick, sticks to color eyebrows, etc. The Harappans were also fond of ornaments, as several ornaments such as a gold necklace, bangles, waistband, rings, etc. have been discovered. The famous dancing girl statue discovered in Harappa is also adorned with a necklace and bangles on her hand. All these show that they had an advanced culture. Means of entertainment. The Harappans enjoyed singing, dancing, hunting, animal fighting, etc. They also played games such as dice. They made toys for children like the movable ox, bullock carts, bird-shaped whistles, rattles, etc., remains of which have been excavated. Religious beliefs. Various objects discovered at the excavation sites such as seals, statues, fire altars, etc. give us an idea about the religious beliefs of the Harappans. Agriculture was the prime occupation of the people, so they worshipped the earth as Mother Goddess. They also revered natural forces such as the sun, water, fire, trees, etc. The fire altar found at Kalibangan shows that the Harappans worshipped fire. They also worshipped the god Pashupati, cobra, bulls, etc. Even though the Harappans were idol worshippers, they did not build any temples. The numerous public baths found in the various excavation sites indicate that bathing and cleanliness was an important part of Harappan culture. They used to bury their dead and believed in life after death. Therefore, along with the dead body, they would also bury ornaments and urns. From the excavations and artifacts gathered, we can say that the Harappan civilization was very advanced. However, archaeologists have been unable to decipher the ancient script of the Harappans found on the excavated seals. If that happens, more information about the exact cause of the collapse of the Harappan civilization could be found out. Some historians believe that the Harappan civilization was destroyed due to natural disasters like floods or earthquakes, while some others believe that the decline of the vast ancient civilization was due to external attacks of enemies. Let us now understand what happened after the collapse of the Harappan civilization. Vedic culture. The last phase of the Indus civilization saw the arrival of tribes in northwest India from Central Asia. These tribes were of Indo-European origin and were known as Aryans. They eventually led to the formation of the Vedic culture. The first phase of the Vedic period was between 1500 BC and 1000 BC. The second phase, called the later Vedic period, was between 1000 BC and 600 BC. The rich literature of the Aryans tells us of the life of the Aryans. Aryan settlements. Historians differ about the origins of the Aryans. An inscription found at Bogaskoi, Asia Minor, dating 1400 BC, makes a reference to the Rig Veda and its gods such as Indra, Mitra, Varun, etc. As a result, some consider Asia Minor the place of origin of the Aryans. The early Aryans settled in the valleys of the Sindhu, Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Byas, Satluj and Saraswati rivers in the northwest of the Indian subcontinent. The Aryans called this fertile region as Sapta Sindhu, meaning the land of the seven rivers. Later, the Aryans shifted to the east, near the plains of the river Ganga and Yamuna. They called this region as Madhya Desh, meaning middle country. Vedic literature. The Vedic literature is a rich source of information about the Aryans. It includes the four Vedas, that is, the Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Samveda, and Atharva Veda, and also the Brahmanas, Aranyakas, and Upanishads. The word Vedic is derived from the word Ved, which means knowledge or wisdom. The Vedic literature talks about nature gods and includes prayers and psalms to make them happy. These prayers give us an idea about the religion of the Aryans, their moral values, ethics, philosophy of life, political life, expansion of power, social structure, etc. Now, let us learn more about the 4 Vedas. Rig Veda. It is the oldest Veda and is the Veda of praise, as it contains hymns praising the Hindu gods. The Rig Veda consists of 10 books known as mandalas. The mandalas contain 1028 suktas or hymns. Every stanza of the hymns is called Rucha. Yajurveda. It is the Veda of the rituals, as it contains various mantras to be chanted during rituals. Samveda. It is the Veda of melodies, as it describes the singing or chanting of the Ruchas. It is considered the foundation of Indian classical music. Atharva Veda. It is the Veda of charms. Along with philosophy, it describes medicinal plants and how to meet crises and problems in life. It is believed that the Vedas were written by God's will through the hands of priests. Aryan rule. Administration. The early Aryans lived in tribes. However, they abandoned tribal life as they settled in the fertile valleys of the Saptasindhu, the Ganga and the Yamuna, and began to practice agriculture and also domesticate cattle. Initially, they had to fight with the non-Aryan tribes and other Aryan tribes for acquisition of land and livestock. In the Aryan society, a village consisted of many families. A group of villages was called a Vish, while many Vish together formed the Jan or state. The head of the state was called the Rajan or the king. This way, monarchy developed in the Aryan society. The people elected a powerful person as their king. The king had to take an oath to be loyal to the state. His prime duty was to protect his people from other tribes and external attacks. The people had the right to dethrone or kill the king if he was found to be unfaithful and unjust. Check was also kept on the monarchy by 2 institutions, the Sabha and Samiti. However, the importance of these institutions diminished in the later Vedic period, and kingship became hereditary. In ancient India, the kingdoms or states were either republic or monarchist. Ancient Buddhist texts refer to 16 Mahajan Pads or kingdoms which existed around 600 BC. These Mahajan Pads or states later led to the formation of the powerful kingdoms of Magad, Maurya, Gupta, Harsha, etc. Economic life of Aryans. The Aryans were basically cattle breeders, and cattle breeding was their main occupation. But as they moved to the valleys of the Ganga and Yamuna, they began to practice agriculture, which gradually became their main occupation. They grew crops such as wheat, rice, barley, sugarcane, mustard, cotton, etc. They continued to raise livestock as a supplementary occupation. The economic status of a family was judged on the basis of number of cows the family owned. They used coins called niksha as currency. Before the advent of coins as currency, cows were used as means of exchange. Farmers paid 1/6 of their income as tax to the king. In the later Vedic period, there was a radical change in the economic life of the Aryans. They learnt the use of iron and began to use iron plows, which improved their agricultural income as the quality and quantity of agricultural produce improved drastically. Iron was also used on a large scale to build chariots, bullock carts, ships, weapons, etc. Advances in agriculture improved productivity and in turn the standard of living of the people. There was significant growth in trade as small-scale and cottage industries began to develop. As a result, various occupations developed and craftsmen such as carpenters, blacksmith, potters, goldsmith, weavers, painters, etc. began to emerge. These craftsmen set up organizations to represent themselves. The head of the class was called Shreshti, which means leader. The organizations were similar to trade unions. Trade grew by leaps and bounds during the Mahajanpad period. Social life of Aryans. The Aryan settlements were scattered in rural areas. They built houses made of wood that had thatched roofs made of grass. The Aryan diet consisted of milk, curd, butter, fruits, vegetables, and meat. Cooperation between society members was an integral part of Aryan society. The head of the village was called Gramani. The family structure was patriarchal, with the head of the family being the eldest male member, called the Grihapati. Despite this structure, Aryan girls enjoyed the liberty to select their life partners. Women scholars such as Vishwavara and Ghosha existed during the Rig Veda period. Scholarly women were referred to as Brahmavadini. During the Rig Veda period, the society was divided into Varna or class system, which was based on the occupation of the people, and this classification was flexible. During the later Vedic period, apart from the three Varnas or classes of Brahmins, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, a fourth class of Shudras or downtrodden people came into existence. The Varna system eventually led to the development of the caste system. Let us learn about the functions of the four Varnas. Functions of Chaturvarna. Four classes. 1. Brahmins. They studied and taught the Vedas and performed religious rituals. 2. Kshatriyas. They were warriors who were educated in administration, maintenance of law and order, and fought to protect the kingdom. 3. Vaishyas. They were traders, businessmen, farmers, and craftsmen. 4. Shudras. The poor and downtrodden non-Aryans were considered the Shudras. They were not allowed to acquire education and were assigned menial tasks in society. To attain the 4 Purusharthas, that is, Dharma, righteousness, Artha, wealth, Kama, pleasure, and Moksha, salvation, the human life was divided into 4 stages or atharvas, which applied to the male members of the society. The 4 stages of life are Brahmacharya Ashram. This stage involved the acquisition of knowledge up to the age of 25. Boys would stay in ashrams or gurukuls and learn under the tutelage of a guru. Grihastha Ashram. This is the 2nd stage of life. After finishing his education, man would get married and begin to pursue an occupation to earn an income. He would fulfill his duties towards his family and society. Vanaprastha Ashram. In the 3rd stage, after reaching 50 years of age, man would renounce family life and worldly pleasures and go to stay in the forest to pray and meditate in order to attain salvation. Sannyas Ashram. In the last stage, after renouncing all worldly pleasures, man would wander as an ascetic and strive to attain moksha or salvation. In the later Vedic period, the Aryan family system saw little changes. Due to frequent wars, boys were encouraged to fight and protect the villages and property. Over time, there was a decline in the education of women. However, there were some exceptions such as Gargi and Maitreyi, who were highly educated women. Cultural life of Aryans. The Aryans knew how to make cotton and woolen clothes and also embroidery. Men and women wore jewelry made of gold, silver, and ivory. They also wore necklaces and garlands, with a necklace called Nishka being very popular. Both men and women wore cosmetics such as sandal powder, kajal, mehendi, scented cosmetics, etc. Men and women also sported various hairstyles. The Aryans took pleasure in singing, dancing, and playing games such as dice, etc. The Aryans also played musical instruments such as the veena, mridang, flute, conch, and cymbals. They also participated in sports and athletics. Hunting animals was treated as a form of game. Religious ideas. Let us learn about the religions which evolved during the period. Vedic religion. The early Aryans worshipped nature and natural forces. The Rig Veda divides the universe into three forces, that is, the earth, space, and orbit. Each group included 11 deities, that is, a total of 33 deities. Let us look at some of the important deities. 1. Deities on earth included the earth, fire, Brihaspati, Som, etc. 2. Deities in space included Indra, Rudra, Varun or rain god, Maruti or air god, etc. 3. Deities in the orbit included the sun, Usha, Vishnu, the moon, etc. The Aryans primarily worshipped the sun, Indra, Varun, Rudra or Shiv, and Usha, a goddess. Thus, the Aryans worshipped various natural forces. They did not worship idols. They believed in rules of nature and that the nature controlled the universe. The moral order of nature was called Ruta. The main religious principle of the Aryans was Ekam Sat Vipra Bahudha Vadanti, which means that one God or creator manifests himself through the universe. It was the main principle of the Vedic religion. There was religious harmony in the Aryan society. The Aryans placed a lot of importance on rituals in order to appease the natural forces and receive blessings from God. As part of religious rituals, the Aryans would light a fire and make oblations or offerings to the fire, as it was believed that the rising flames of the fire would carry the offerings to God. The offerings made to the fire included milk, butter, food grains, etc. The Aryans believed that the offerings would lead to happiness, prosperity, good health, and protection from enemies. In the later Vedic period, religious rituals and rites gained prominence. Consequently, the importance of the Brahmins who performed these rituals also increased. The sacrifice of animals to please gods also began during this period. Caste system became very rigid and led to a rise in social inequality, with the Brahmins gaining more prominence. Other social evils also arose with people losing their moral values and good conduct. Philosophers like sage Kapil and the Charvaka launched a strong protest against these atrocities. These philosophers advocated rationalism and created the foundation of ideology of social philosophy. This led to the rise of new religions like Jainism and Buddhism. Let us learn about these religions. Jainism. The word Jain comes from the word Jina, which means conqueror of the senses. The Jain religion had 24 Tirthankaras who propagated the Jain faith. Rishabhdev was the first and Parshvanath was the 23rd Tirthankara. Mahavir Vardhaman was the 24th Tirthankara. The 24 Tirthankaras are 1. Rishabhdev, 2. Ajit, 3. Sambhav, 4. Abhinandan, 5. Sumati, 6. Padmaprabh, 7. Suparshva, 8. Chandraprabh, 9. Pushpadant, 10. Sheetal, 11. Shreyas, 12. Vasupujya, 13. Vimal, 14. Anant, 15. Dharma, 16. Shanti, 17. Kuntu, 18. Araha, 19. Malli, 20. Muni Suvrat, 21. Name, 22. Nemi, 23. Parshvanath, and 24. Mahavir Vardhaman. Parshvanath. The Jain prophet Parshvanath was the son of the king Asvasena of Benares. After a deep penance, he gained spiritual knowledge of a very high order. He advocated the principles of Satya, truth, Ahimsa, non-violence, Asteya, non-stealing, and Aparigraha, non-possession. Mahavir Vardhaman and the Jain religion. Vardhaman was born in 599 BC in a Kshatriya family to Siddharth and Trishala Devi at Kundagram near Vaishali. At the age of 30, Mahavir renounced all worldly attachments and pleasures and left his home to lead an ascetic life. He did penance for 12 years to conquer his desires and feelings. He attained enlightenment at the age of 42. He was called Jina, which means conqueror. He began to preach and spread his teachings. He died at the age of 72 at Pawa in 527 BC. Teachings of Jainism. The Jain religion is based on the teachings of Mahavir Vardhaman, Parshvanath, and the other Tirthankaras. Mahavir emphasized a pure and righteous life. He advocated charity, serving sages and elders, patience, truth, and forgiveness. He also condemned the caste system and rejected the authority of the Vedas. He also rejected the importance placed on rituals carried out by the Brahmins. Mahavir believed in equality between man and woman. Mahavir believed that soul is self-existent and eternal. He said that man can conquer his evil thoughts through self-restraint and self-agony. Non-violence is the crux of Mahavir's philosophy, with the Jain religion's maxim being Ahimsa Paramo Dharma. Mahavir preached in Ardhamagadhi, the language of the common people, and thus spread the Jain religion far and wide. The Threefold Path, Triratnas. The Jain religion is based on the triratnas of 1. Samyak Darshan, right belief, means to believe in the teachings of the Jain Tirthankaras. 2. Samyak Gyan, right knowledge, means to have proper knowledge about the real nature of the world and people. 3. Samyak Charitrya, right conduct, means to observe the 5 rules of Jainism. Adherence to the threefold path is of prime importance in Jainism. The Jains believe that failure to follow the rules would lead to human sorrow and breakdown in social relations. Therefore, the Jains emphasize strict adherence to the threefold path. Mahavir laid down 4 rules for a Shravaka or householder. They are Ahimsa, non-violence, Satya, truth, Asteya, non-stealing, and Aparigraha, non-possession. For a Shramana or monk, Mahavir laid the rule of Brahmacharya, celibacy, in addition to the above 4 rules. Let us learn about the 5 rules which are also called the 5 great doctrines of Jainism. 5 great doctrines. 1. Satya or truth means to speak only the truth. 2. Ahimsa or non-violence means not to harm or kill any living being. 3. Asteya or non-stealing means not to steal and to abstain from violence. 4. Aparigraha or non-possession means detachment from people and material possessions. 5. Brahmacharya or celibacy means to abstain from lustful behavior. Jainism has 2 sects, namely Digambara and Svetambara. Today, Jainism is an integral part of Indian culture.
If you like our videos, please do share and subscribe to our channel.